words that the Library of Congress used to describe its reasoning for preservation surrounding the film Brokeback Mountain in 2018. Why does the gay cowboy film deserve acclamations? I know what you're thinking. It's just a film about two gay lovers. Why does it matter? Why this film? Why not a Quentin Tarantino film? Why Brokeback Mountain? Well, as a film buff, I wanted to know too. As a queer individual, I want to know why this queer film, of all films, deserved these acclamations. So I took it upon myself. I did an honors research project with Dr. Karen Christensen over here, and I conducted a study to find out why this film, why does it deserve its acclamations? And I was led to believe that this film deserved its acclamations due to its representation of queer people in a non-stereotypical environment. Brokeback Mountain is a film. It is directed by Ankeny in 2005. It is a Western romantic drama, and it stars many people you probably know. Heath Ledger, Joker, Jake Gyllenhaal, Anne Hathaway, Michelle Williams. It's a story about two gay cowboys. It's two ranch hands, Jack and Enos. They're hired as sheep herders by Del Mar, who eventually fall in love and have sexual relations. Eventually, though, they depart, they go on their own ways, and they marry two women off by themselves. And they are distraught with this. They are not happy having to hide their repressed homosexuality, and so they continue to meet up for these kind of fishing trips, where instead they're making love, they're being gay cowboys. So Jack, he is more in love, and he tries to convince Enos to leave his wife and to come live with him. But Enos is very reluctant. He doesn't want to, and so he doesn't leave his wife. In the end, Jack is killed, and Enos is finally distraught, realizing that he missed what he could have had. So, Brokeback Mountain. How is it not stereotypical? I mean, gay cowboy, everybody thinks of this film. It is a stereotype within itself. Well, it coined that stereotype, but it's not stereotypical within its depictions. So, in Catherine Sender's Off the Straight and Narrow, a documentary about queer media, she talks about how many times in the past, these kind of queer individuals were just background characters. Well, in this film, they're the protagonists. They are already getting rid of that stereotype just by being the front and center. There's also the stereotype of comic characters. You just point and laugh, haha, they're gay. That's not with this film. For many years, Hollywood held gay characters up only as broad characters. This is said by Pegg in his research paper on queer representation. They're also not effeminate gay men. This also comes with the concept of a gay lisp. They don't have this. They work as sheep herders. They are doing a more masculine job. It is said in Stossel's paper discussing stereotypes within gay media that lesbians, on average, are attracted to more masculine occupations, and gay men tend to prefer more feminine occupations. I think we can all agree that being a cowboy, it's not really a feminine occupation. It's more so associated with masculinity. I mean, you have to lift sheep. That's not necessarily something that we associate with femininity. So we can get rid of this effeminate gay stereotype because they're not effeminate. They are very masculine. With this stereotype, there is also the concept that in a gay relationship, one of them is masculine and one of them is feminine. And as I have already discussed, they're both masculine individuals. There's not that stereotype within the effeminate gay men stereotype. And then we go into number 4. There's no homosexual men and heterosexual women best friendship. So a lot of people, when they think of this stereotype, they think of sitcoms like Will and Grace. That's actually the sitcom that turned the phrase that a lot of people use it. I don't like to use it, but I'll say it. Fag hags. So it's just the concept that heterosexual women and gay men are naturally drawn to each other. I mean, they both love men. Why wouldn't they want to be friends? That doesn't happen in this film. I don't know if you have seen it. I've tried to discuss it a little bit. But these two, they don't get along with their partners. There's a lot of tension, especially when they find out about their repressed homosexuality. So they're not best friends. I would say that they're a little bit of enemies. So they're getting rid of this stereotype because they're not these fag hags. And then we go into predation and violence. A lot of times, even in media nowadays, there's a lot of concepts surrounding the fact that gay men are predators. They are violent people. Well, that doesn't happen in this film. In TV Tropes, a little magazine that used to talk about a lot of TV tropes, obviously as the name states, it says that the basic idea that homosexuals, especially men, have sexual interest in children and will molest them if they get a chance. This is just talking about a stereotype that is present, but it's not present in this film. These guys are not pedophiles, and they are not violent towards each other. That doesn't mean that they aren't violent. I mean, it's 1963 Wyoming. Of course they're going to be violent in certain circumstances, but within their relationship, they are not violent to each other, getting rid of this concept that they are violent. And the last topic when discussing stereotypes within gay media, we have plot lines. I'm not trying to say that these plot lines are bad plot lines. They're just stereotypical. So some of these that I would talk about would be AIDS crisis and coming out. So Brokeback Mountain doesn't do this. It's 1963 Wyoming. If they came out, they would be killed. And they're trying to avoid number 5, so they don't have that plot line. AIDS is also a crisis, but we don't address it in this film. So there's no plot line surrounding that, so there's no stereotype surrounding that. So, what does that mean? Who cares that this is not stereotypical media? Who cares that it has representation of queer individuals in a healthy, loving relationship? Well, that leads me to my conclusion. Because this representation of queer individuals is so progressive, it deserves its acclamations. That is why the Library of Congress chose to preserve this film of all films. Not because it's a gay cowboy film, but because it's non-stereotypical within things like plotline, individualistic traits, and things like the such. Despite mockery, Family Guy, they had a bit all about Brokeback Mountain. That's where people think gay cowboy. Despite these kind of mockeries and media depicting this film in a negative light, this film is one of the best films, in my opinion, for this kind of representation and for the accreditation that it deserves. It took years for a film like this to be made, but it paved the way for other films like Tangerine. So for that, I say that Brokeback Mountain abandoned and shattered stereotypes, showing queer people as what they really are, humans. Thank you.